Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Peace for the World series. And today I have Ankush Jain with me. Hello, Ankush.
Hi Sebastian, how are you doing?
I'm doing very fine. And first of all, how did I met Ankush? Ankush did in the last few months he did a relationship series, and I watched some of his videos, and I really was inspired by what the people were telling about peace of mind and how to have good relationships. And so I thanked him for the help, and he invited me to have a conversation, which we actually had in London. And yeah, since then he's supporting me in a very special way, always having some nice words to say. And yeah, now he's supporting me again in this video. So Ankush, um, today's topic is peace of mind, peace for the world. Um, what does this ring for you? So what do you connect with peace of mind, peace for the world? What shows up for you?
Well, firstly, Sebastian, I want to say thank you for inviting me to the interview you're doing. I love what you're doing. I love that you have seen something. I know initially we spoke in the relationship series that I produce, and I love that you're seeing that and taking it out into the world. So I'm very happy to support what you're doing, and hopefully this will be of value for people that watch it. Um, with regards to peace of mind, if I talk about that first, for me, I wasn't someone that I would have said had a lot of peace of mind. If I go back a few years ago, that really wasn't the case. If anything, I spent a lot of time analyzing, if not over-analyzing, a lot of things that were happening in my life and in my world. Now, that's not to say I was kind of down in the dumps, not at all. I was someone externally who was successful. I went to a good university, I got a good job, I used to get promoted, had a nice car, a lot of things that people would look to see that, someone's successful or they're doing well or anything else. And sometimes I would even have comments from people, say, "Wow, you're doing well," and make comments like that, but or even envious comments, and I never used to understand it because I just used to think, well, you're not in my head. I'm not really that happy, or the grass is always greener on the other side. And a few years ago, I came across some different teachers, if you like. I was always into self-development, self-improvement, personal growth, even spirituality. I was always looking for something more. I was always looking to deepen my understanding of life, my understanding of how to be happier, how to be more successful. And it worked to an extent. Life did improve, and I changed a lot over a number of years. But what was really interesting was a few years ago, I came across a group of teachers which have then inspired my own podcast, as you've listened to. And they seem to approach psychology, if you like, completely differently. They seem to explain how our mind works in a completely different way. And for me, one of the big things for me at the beginning was anger. I wouldn't have said I was a really angry person, but when I look back now, I feel like I was. And what I really heard at the beginning of when I started to explore this for myself was that actually when I was angry, I wasn't thinking clearly. And when I'm not thinking clearly, I don't really make good decisions or act in the most appropriate way. Now, this kind of almost sounds silly to say it because that's so obvious. And maybe it's obvious for other people, maybe it's not, but it wasn't obvious to me before. And it all of a sudden became obvious to me that when I'd get an email through at work and I'd get really upset because of something that someone had said, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that does that. I kind of realized that getting upset about it and then complaining about it to my colleagues and doing whatever else, that wasn't the most effective way to handle that. But also, it wasn't the most productive, and I had a choice about it. I had a choice whether I carried on going down the road of anger and upset, or whether I thought, hold on a second, maybe I'm not seeing this realistically. Maybe I'm not perceiving this as it really is. Maybe my anger is telling me about that. And since then, what I sometimes share with other people, whether they're clients or just people that I'm talking to, is, we can all imagine someone in a retail store who's getting angry. I mean, we've all been around angry shoppers. Maybe some of us have been angry shoppers ourselves. And I used to work in retail, and I remember, sometimes people coming in, and the angrier they would get, the less rational they'd become. And as they got less rational, they weren't really doing themselves any favors. They were working themselves up, and anyone else that was around them could see, well, they're not really thinking clearly. They're not really acting in an appropriate way. And even the person who was getting angry would probably see that, if they'd seen themselves kind of 10 minutes before or an hour before or the following day. But the people that are getting angry feel that they're justified. They feel that they're right. So we have this really interesting situation with anger where, as we get angrier and angrier, we lose more and more perspective on life. We don't see things clearly. We kind of get stupider. Or more stupid, is it grammatically? We get more stupid. It's true for me. We become less rational, and yet as we get angrier, we get more and more convinced that we're absolutely right and we're justified. And so for me, just that one insight with, hold on a second, every time I'm getting angry, that's telling me something, and it's not telling me that I'm right. It's telling me that I'm getting less and less perspective on the situation. It's telling me that I'm getting less and less rational. And so I became less sure of myself as opposed to more sure of myself. And as I became less sure of myself, I stopped reacting as much. And I guess coming to your conversation or your question around peace of mind, that led to a much better peace of mind, or maybe not even peace of mind. I was in a better headspace, shall we say, when I stopped delving down into anger more and more, when I stopped going into that. And it was funny because I ended up sharing that with my colleagues, because I worked in a very target-oriented environment. We were a high-performing team. And my colleagues saw that too, and they saw it was true for them. And we saved hours of time by simply not getting worked up over things, because we realized, oh, right, us getting worked up is an indication we're losing perspective, we're getting less rational. So we stopped doing that, because, well, that doesn't make sense. And then we'd be more effective, save ourselves so much time in doing so. And we'd enjoy work, we'd be more productive, be more effective. It's a win-win situation. And the thing is, I really want to get across is that, and people might think I'm laboring the point, and it's so easy for us to skip over this because it's so simple. And I skipped over it because I thought it was so simple. And yet it's so impactful, and it was impactful for me because, one example is work. And we're all busy people. I don't know anyone who says, I don't have enough to do at work. Most people that I meet going, oh, I've got too much to do. The to-do list is never ending. It just keeps going. Well, if you can free yourself up by not getting caught out in, and it doesn't have to be anger, it can be frustration or whatever else, and you save yourself that time that you otherwise absorbed by getting frustrated and upset, you're giving yourself that time back at work. But also, this is equally as effective in family relationships. You know, with the people that we're closest to. You know, the amount of times that families have arguments over really small things. And I don't know if you ever noticed this, but you know, if you're out again, I don't know, shopping, or you're at a picnic or a theme park, you know, you'll always see one family that's kind of having a go at each other, or you know, having a little, you know, thing that they're having, and instantly we can go, oh, that's not going to go well. and probably we can also recognize some of our own behavior in that as well. And so we all know this when we're not in that place, that it's not the best way to act. And again, just seeing that one thing changed my relationship with my family. So I don't know about world peace, but what I know is that you can have much more peace of mind when you get a better understanding of how the mind works, of how it actually works, rather than what most people think it works like. And you'll have peace in your own world.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is, I think you said to me the first time we met, it was something like, do you want to be right, or do you want to see it right? And this, like, having to be like the person who is like right, and who like pushes something to, like, for example, to get his ego satisfied. I saw it so often in the last few weeks, like when I'm listening to the politics, or to like, or watch some news, that I see that some leaders in the world, they just want to be right, like they have some identity, and they cannot lose, or failure is not something they can accept. And yeah, I love it when you said that you get some perspective on things, and you kind of say, get a bit distance to what you're feeling right now, and to not take it too seriously. I think, yeah, it's definitely like, it starts with you, but it goes like to everyone in every situation.
Yeah, because you know, we build that in. You know, we've got a part to play in our relationships with other people. We've got a part to play in that. So, you know, if you're losing it, it's going to be much more difficult, all other things being equal, for the person that you're losing it with to have, you know, groundedness to keep their head. You know, if you're losing it with someone, quite often they might lose it back with you, or they'll get upset. And so if you can keep your head, I mean, I find this true with me, that if I can keep my head and I can talk calmly and rationally to people, I'm actually better at influencing them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can see that, and it's not really the words that we use even, you know. And I know that again, I used to work in procurement. I used to be buying goods and services on behalf of big companies, and so I was really fascinated about negotiation. Some people would have even called me an expert. and I used to read books on negotiation. I used to attend courses, and you know, I used to read books on persuasion and influencing. And I was considered quite good at influencing. And again, that's all changed in the last few years, completely differently, because all of those things that I was learning, it was mainly concentrating on the structure, on strategy. And these are kind of what all these books and things are written on, and courses which are useful and helpful. But actually what's more important is where we're coming from. And that's a quality that we all really know. You know, you can get two people who say the exact same words to you, and yet we'll react differently to the two people. And we'll always just say, well, we don't know what it is about them. So you can have someone that you just don't get on with. I don't know what it is about them. You can have someone you just get on with. Well, I don't know what it is. There's something about them. And so it's about kind of where we're coming from when we do that. And it's, if we can keep our head, if we can keep level-headed, I guess is one way to put it. If we can keep a clear state of mind is another way to put it. We're not getting analytical or over-analytical or all caught up, then we can influence people much easier. They can hear us, and we articulate ourselves better. And so that impacts the other person. That's why you kind of hear of people who go to, I don't know, some spiritual teachers or whatever, and they feel like they go, oh, my mind stopped when I was in their presence. I mean, let's keep it more realistic every day. There's some people that you meet, it might be your grandparents, it might be a certain friend, and just being in their presence, you just feel really good.
Yeah.
Right? And so I find this true of me. Sometimes this never used to happen before. Not really, but now kind of when people meet me and if it's kind of a stressful situation or what people consider a stressful situation, and I can keep my head, which I do much better now, I find that tends to help other people keep their head around me too. And that seems to kind of manage the situation.
Funny that you mentioned this. When I met you in London, it was a kind of stressful morning to get to your place. And the moment I met you, I could feel that you were just calm, just your mind was right. And I instantly could relax and just like be myself. And I think this like what you're telling, yeah, it really resonates with me to show up with this peace, and then other people can also calm down and relax and see the world a bit clearer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really helpful thing to be able to do. It's a helpful skill, if you want to call it a skill. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but this is useful if you were a leader in any kind of leadership role, whether that's a leader of a Fortune 500 company or a small organization, whether you're a youth leader or you're the leader of your family or a group of friends. It's a great skill to have, and one that is really coveted around the world in various circumstances and guises. So it's really useful there. And again, there are so many benefits of this, so many benefits of having a clear head, so many benefits of keeping your head. It's not just, when you talk about peace of mind, it's not just people sitting on the side of mountains meditating and not interacting with anyone. And I think organizations and the more mainstream are kind of realizing this, how important it is, especially in today's society when we've all got smartphones, we've all got access to the internet. It's now considered a kind of a basic human need, if not a right. And so all of this technology which is connecting us, everywhere. And so for a lot of people, it's, especially in the Western world, and increasingly in the East as well, it's difficult to switch off. People are kind of going to work and they're working all day and then they're on their phones. They come home, they're on the internet or they're watching TV. They've got Netflix on. Maybe they get an email in from their boss. We're in a global, we live in a global society now as well. So for a lot of companies or organizations, you maybe got customers in one part of the world, suppliers in the other part of the world. Maybe you're traveling for work. There's all sorts of things, and there can almost be this feeling of people can't switch off, which used to naturally happen, maybe 30, 40 years ago. Maybe it didn't. I don't know, but it kind of feels like that. There's more going on, and we see this in terms of more and more. I read it in the news all the time about kind of mental illness, mental sickness, depression, stress. All these things are becoming increasingly problematic for not only businesses but for families, for society. It's becoming increasingly problematic. So something that can help people to keep a level head, to keep peace of mind, you know, is great. And the funny thing is, most people just try and deal with stress.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is that, well, that's okay. But what if you didn't need to deal with stress? What if there was a way that you just didn't need to get sucked into stress at all? And we see this because you can have stressful situations, and there'll be some people who'll be freaking out, and some people are just completely level-headed about it. And we think there's something special about them. But the truth is, what I've seen, or what I've seen for myself, what I've seen for my clients, is that it's something that we can learn. Absolutely, we can learn this, and it's sustainable, and it's not more stuff to remember. And we can.
So where's stress coming from? What would you say?
Well, I would say, and I see it very clearly, and some people may not agree with me, but I see that we create stress through our perception of what's going on. And like I said before, you can have any situation, and there'll be people who kind of scream in terror or horror or whatever, and you've got people who really thrive in that environment. If you look at times of war, there's certain people who really thrive in that time, and some people who don't. And you can take this for any situation. Some people thrive in certain situations, and other people don't. It's not the situation that is causing people to feel stressed or not, but it's how we perceive that, and actually what we think that's telling us. We all don't even react to feelings the same way. Some people feel like my brother was scared of heights, so he said, "I'm scared of it. I want to go and do something," and he goes jumping out of airplanes. Right? Other people feel fear and they think, "No, I need to stay away from that." And again, we're starting moving as a society towards comfort. We want more and more comfort, and that's not always a good thing. We think it's a good thing, but it's not. If we never put the body under any stress, we'll never grow. We'll become lazy, and the body gets unused, and it it's bad for the body. And it's the same thing with us. We don't need more comfort necessarily, but it's about looking at situations a little bit differently, realizing that, like with anger, it's not telling us that we're right. It's the same thing with stress. It's not telling us that there's a situation we can't handle.
So what's the difference between a person that is thriving in such an environment and a person that is stressed out? What would you say?
Well, I would just say the person that's thriving is someone that can keep a level head, can keep a clear head, that doesn't get caught up in what's going on. And I'd say the person who's thriving has probably got a better grip on reality. It's not like they've got some magic powers. They're just seeing the situation probably more clearly, right? The people that are stressed out don't. They can get caught up. I mean, let's talk for me rather than for other people. But for me, when I'd get stressed out by certain situations, whether it's exams when I was younger or certain situations at work, as I was getting stressed out, I was less capable to deal with the situation. I was less able to think clearly. I was less able to show up and do what I needed to do and to be effective. And yet people who thrive, they're the ones that go, well, no, we can just do this, this, and this, and this. And you go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So the people that are thriving, I see, are able to see through that and not get caught up by the feelings of stress.
Yeah.
And people react to that differently. Some people like stress. Some people love to work in a high stress environment. Some people thrive in that. Some people don't. But it's not the circumstances that are causing those feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, what shows up for me is like sometimes it seems like I'm feeling my workload. I'm feeling the people around me, and then I kind of then it makes me believe that because I'm feeling something that I cannot do, for example, then I cannot work. That I first have to get my head clear, like, and this could take hours or whatever. And I just analyze stuff. I tend to get in my head, and I realize I don't realize that I can just move on. That it's clearing by itself. That the nature of our life is that that we don't analyze situations, when we don't analyze what we are feeling and thinking right now, that it just turns to clear itself, and it's so much easier. I had one situation when I was here in my room and I got caught up in a I think it was a situation with a friend of mine, and it was an argument, and I analyzed it. And normally I would stay in the bedroom for hours analyzing it. Why was I doing it? Is this the wrong person to connect to and stuff? And at one point I realized it really doesn't matter. And I got up, I walked into the toilet, I asked myself, okay, what's the next step to do right now? What is logical right now? So I went to the shower. Afterwards I got out of the shower, I looked in the mirror, and the feelings were gone. I was at peace again. I just did what seemed logical, and I did not analyze the stuff, and then it cleared itself.
Yeah, the mind is a self-correcting system. You know, the problem is that most of us don't give our mind that opportunity to self-correct. We keep pumping more analysis into it, more thinking. We try and fix it ourselves, and we don't need to do that. So, like you say, when we're in a situation, and we've all had that time when something's coming along. Oh no, this is happening, and you start thinking and thinking, and you get caught up, you get stressed, you get upset or anxious. Well, it's really tempting to do more and more at the level of your thinking, at the level of intellectualizing it, at a level of analysis. But actually, when we leave it alone, that's the best thing that we can do, because the mind will self-correct at some point. If it didn't self-correct, we would still be upset about every single thing we've ever been upset about our whole life.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, and it's also why there's the old saying of just sleep on it. And so many times when we've got a problem and we'll just go to sleep, and in the morning it doesn't seem like so much of a problem anymore.
Yeah.
It's because we've actually given ourselves some space from the problem. We've not really kept going into it. And the thing is, we're so scared, we're so used to analyzing, we're so used to overthinking things, or at least I was. We don't give ourselves that space. And once we start doing that, it's incredible. And there's no formula to it. It's not like you've got to give yourself 10 minutes of space or one day or whatever. In my experience, it clears when it clears. And sometimes it takes a second, and sometimes it takes a minute. It might take an hour, it might take a day, it might take a week. But eventually it will clear, because that's what the mind is designed to do. And by analyzing it and trying to fix it and think, we're actually just slowing that process down.
Yeah. What I feel is that what you're saying is that we are kind of addicted to do stuff, to fix something, to work with it, when in the end it's all working out fine. We don't have to do such like enormous analytical stuff or making it like intellectual, and just
Right. And we might do stuff. We might do stuff in the world. So we might go for a walk. We might have a conversation with someone. We might do things. I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm not saying sit there and just vegetate. But some people will want to go for a walk. Some people will just get on and do something that they need to do. It's not about not doing. It's about not analyzing in your head. It's not about trying to fix your thinking or trying to fix intellectually what's going on. That's the key.
wonderful. I think It's a good word to end this conversation. Thank you very much, Ankush, for being on the series. And if people want to catch up with you, how can they contact you?
Yeah, there's a variety of ways they can contact me. The one way is through my website, which is www.ankushjain.co.uk. That's ANKUSHJAIN. They can get me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/AnkushJain Ltd. They can get me on Twitter, which is @AnkushKJain.
Okay, great. Then yeah, thank you very much for being here, and I really enjoyed it. And I think the last part is something that that really resonated with me, and yeah, it's kind of practical, gives you something like to think about and to feel what works for you when you are when you're stressed, when you're angry, and when you really feel like there's something wrong. And yeah, I really liked it how you put it in words. Good.
Well, thanks, Sebastian.
So everyone, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you on the next episode, number 3. And yeah, bye bye.